This week in round number one, I'll share my thoughts on the debut of Raw on Netflix, some recent AEW news that has taken an unexpected turn, and much more in this jam-packed edition of round number one. Last Monday night, Raw debuted on Netflix, and it was perceived as a spectacle by some, or just an average episode of Raw by others. The show featured material Vince McMahon would likely find unsuitable for his TV PG rated programming from 2008 to 2024 if he were still in charge. For instance, WWE characters were open to alcohol consumption, which wouldn't have flown in the previous TV PG era. While we have seen Stone Cold Steve Austin drink beer during that time, it was always concealed in a can. Did you notice that Xavier Woods cutting a promo while holding a glass of liquor? Or was The Rock casually committing the illegal act of drinking and driving during his promo? A guest superstar even joined a WWE wrestler to the ring while visibly smoking something. That was quite wild, especially considering that children were in the audience and could smell what Travis Scott was smoking. The show also featured material some older fans found disturbing, such as derailing long-term main event storylines. The Rock's return was expected to reignite old feuds, but now many believe these feuds, including the Rock Cody and the Rock Roman feuds, are over. Even the Solo Sokoa back bloodline fraction seems to be history. However, this shift in storyline also opens up exciting possibilities for the future direction of these characters and the potential for fresh new paths, which should keep us all hopeful and intrigued. Remember what I predicted for Solo Sokola during the 2025 predictions show. I mentioned that after he loses the Ulu Fala to Roman Reigns, his new goal would be the World Heavyweight Championship that Gunther currently holds. The Ulu Fala is a symbolic title that signifies the top position in the wrestling hierarchy. With Reigns having permanently gained the Ulu Fala, he can now move on from Sokoa and the Bloodline faction to win the 2025 Royal Rumble, where he aims to face Cody for the WWE Championship. This shift also puts Reigns in the crosshairs of new opponents, such as John Cena, who announced a self-imposed retirement that ends in 2025. Cena wants to secure a final World Championship run to solidify his status as the greatest of all time, or the GOAT for short. Additionally, after beating Seth Rollins cleanly, CM Punk has his sights on the Royal Rumble to pursue the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 41. The road to WrestleMania 41 is filled with fresh matchups, which are pairings of wrestlers who have not faced each other before or have not faced each other in a long time. These fresh matchups and engaging storylines leading up to the two-day event are sure to excite wrestling fans as they bring new dynamics and unpredictability to the matches. As I also predicted for 2025, this could be WrestleMania, where new WWE champions are crowned each day, a prospect sure to excite wrestling fans. Sponsor logos are now on the ring mat corners exclusively for Raw on Netflix. Many older fans have significant issues with advertisement spots and commercial breaks during wrestling programs, and I share these concerns. However, it's essential to recognize that WWE, AEW, Major League Baseball, and even the NFL are not broadcasts on television for free. These sports entertainment events are televised to generate a return on the investments made by the leagues and the networks airing the events. With Netflix investing a substantial $500 million a year in WWE programming, it's crucial to consider how they plan to recoup this investment beyond just membership fees. As a holder of ad-free Netflix membership, I know that the typical 3 minute and 15-second ad breaks are commercial free, which means no additional revenue is generated to help cover these costs. This insight into the industry's financial side keeps us informed and aware of the business implications of such deals. Additionally, 2025 marks the final year for WrestleMania on Peacock in the United States. As I mentioned in a previous discussion, Netflix holds the global rights to WWE programming outside of the United States. This includes the rights that will transition automatically to Netflix Japan when the WWE and Amima deal ends in Japan. Netflix wants the US rights to WWE PLEs, which will likely come at a hefty price of over $1 billion, which they need to secure. To help with their revenue, sponsorship logos are now branded on the corners of the Raw ring. One of the new sponsored logos on the Raw ring is for Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer. According to the WWE press release regarding their partnership, Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer is one of the fastest growing light beers in the United States. During the Netflix broadcast, Hulk Hogan, accompanied by Jimmy Hart, came out to cut a promo. Hulk Hogan was booed to hell, and I couldn't help but think about who thought it was a great idea to bring Hulk Hogan to this program. It's disheartening that most executives at multi-billion-dollar companies prioritize profit over social justice. If Hulk Hogan had made derogatory comments about other ethnicities, WWE would not pursue owning a stake in one of the fastest growing light beers in the United States that Hulk Hogan co-owns. This lack of consequence for past actions is a cause of concern and a call for greater social justice in the industry. Sentiment many of you, I hope, do share. It's frustrating to see this lack of accountability, and it's something we all need to be aware of. I'm frustrated by the number of podcasters and YouTubers upset about Hulk Hogan being booed. They refer to it as the Donald Trump effect, a term used to describe the phenomenon where some people believe that public figures should be forgiven for their past actions because of their contributions. They insist that people should forgive Hogan because of his apologies. They argue that if it weren't for Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan, we wouldn't be able to watch Raw on Netflix in 2024. They also claim that Hulk Hogan is genuinely nice because they paid to meet him and he spoke to them for like 15 minutes. This situation goes beyond Hogan's support for Donald Trump. It's rooted in his repeated derogatory comments about his daughter's choice of partner, whom he deemed unacceptable, as well as his remarks concerning his son, Nick Bolea, or Nick Hogan's car crash that happened more like a decade ago. So, Nick Hogan was involved in a car crash after driving under the influence of alcohol and racing his car, which resulted in him crashing into a tree. The passenger in Hogan's car, John Graziano, was seriously injured and suffered massive brain damage. In a recorded conversation, Hulk Hogan expressed concern that he and his family might face consequences such as being reborn as black people due to karma. The crowd in Los Angeles booed Hulk Hogan because the city's racial, ethnic, and cultural composition do not align with his persona. According to wrestling news outlets, WWE is considering appointing a new spokesperson instead of Hogan. To me, it might be more beneficial for them to end their current partnership and strike a deal with Broken Skull IPA in collaboration with Stone Cold Steve Austin. This could be a strategic move that improves WWE's reputation by distancing itself from the controversial Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, and attracts a new waves of fans who appreciate light beer and a more positive representation of wrestling. Now, today's episode of Raw on Netflix will not feature live appearances from The Rock, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and hopefully not Hulk Hogan. However, this regular episode promises to be noteworthy, especially with the debut of Pentagon, who is a wrestling character that I haven't discussed much yet on this podcast. So I'm also looking forward to the Women's Intercontinental Championship match final. However, I have reservations about the finalists, Dakota Kai and Lia Valkyrie. They don't generate much audience reaction, and I struggle to see how winning a championship will boost either of their popularity. But going back to Pentagon, I'm excited about Pentagon's transition from AEW to WWE's main roster. It's been a long time since I've been this enthusiastic about a luchador's debut, especially since the significant attention surrounding Mystico's arrival in WWE as Sin Cara. Now, I've tried to mask any derogatory comments about AEW wrestling in my round number 1 recordings. This weekend, I skimmed through an article on NoDQ.com titled Wrestling Promotions Thrive with Great Leadership and Management Teams in Place by Mr. Tito. Let me make this clear. I haven't watched AEW since the controversy surrounding CM Punk's departure from the company. Recently, I accidentally came across a clip on social media of Chris Jericho wrestling Dax Harwood of FTR from this past Saturday's Collision. While I don't know much about the terms work rate or moveset, I can recognize slow and sloppy performances. If you haven't seen Chris Jericho in the last 5 years, he is 54 years old and looks terrible. His in-ring performance has also declined significantly. Jericho may or may not have a drinking problem, but he appears bloated from alcohol consumption. And AEW does not promote a wellness policy for its talent, so it's hard to say for sure. Last week, I mentioned that if Jericho were not in AEW, he would likely be a shoo-in for the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Now, WWE would be embarrassed to have Chris Jericho appearing looking the way he does currently. I'm shocked that AEW leadership and management teams in place feel that Jericho is still a player. If I'm frank, Jericho should have been forced to hang his boots 4 years ago in AEW and given a role at the executive level. For about a year now, I've been pointing out to listeners that the harm being done to AEW is a direct result of leadership and management teams in place. Tony Khan and the elite are ineffective in running a business in pro wrestling or sports entertainment. Good leadership and management in any company do not allow their top draw to leave for a competitor like the WWE. WWE is thriving primarily due to its strong leadership and management teams. They ensure that a diverse range of wrestlers is showcased on television. Each performer looks impressive, and they can deliver engaging promos while being polished in the ring. Most of the roster is skilled at engaging the audience, which helps maintain interest during matches. In contrast, AEW has wrestlers like Adam Page, who is a multiple-time AEW World Champion, Hobbs, Daniels, Big Bill, and others who struggle to deliver good promos. Additionally, the women's division AEW does not show much promise. The veteran talent in their 50s from WWE who have joined AEW are declining rapidly and have lost their appeal. For instance, who in management thought Cope would be a promising new name for Edge? Despite AEW leadership claiming to be the number 2 wrestling company in the world, and that their management is comprised of former New Japan Pro Wrestling stars who believe they're still drawing crowds in Japan, it's worth noting an important event. A promotional event named Wrestle Dynasty occurred the night after New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 19 at the Tokyo Dome. Wrestle Dynasty attended 16,300 fans, marking the lowest turnout for a New Japan show at the Tokyo Dome since the pandemic, and down roughly 8,000 fans compared to the previous night's Wrestle Kingdom 19. AEW, the number 2 wrestling promotion, should have brought value to Japan. However, AEW turns off New Japan Pro Wrestling's domestic fans for several reasons. One major issue is that AEW did not effectively promote the event, believing they didn't need to. The AEW community primarily blames Warner Brothers Discovery for this lack of promotion. It seems illogical that WBD would restrict New Japan Pro Wrestling's promotion on AEW when their wrestlers and championships are advertised on TBS and TNT. So why didn't AEW leadership and management push back? I'll refrain from discussing AEW for now, but I encourage everyone to check out Mr. Tito's article on No DQ. When the day comes that Warner Brothers Discovery has to merge with another network due to their $40 billion debt, if this new entity doesn't believe that AEW is worth $3.6 million a week because they haven't achieved better results on TNT, TBS, or Max, we can say that AEW had an opportunity to turn things around. This could have been accomplished by overhauling the team and removing themselves, meaning Tony Khan and the Elite, from the creative process. So, moving on. Last Monday, we learned that the 2026 Royal Rumble will be held in Saudi Arabia. This deal aims to strengthen the relationship between TKO and the General Entertainment Authority. Eventually, I think all WWE Premium Live events and NXT events will be hosted in Saudi Arabia. If I mentioned to my doctor that I will be traveling to Saudi Arabia for a WWE show, he would likely question why I would choose to go there. The major issue with hosting the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia is that the country has many strict rules, which may discourage many people from attending. The international turnout should be very low. Now, let's talk about this year's Royal Rumble. Here are my predictions for surprise entrance for the 2025 Royal Rumble matches. When I refer to surprise entrance, I mean wrestlers who are not currently signed to WWE contracts and are not returning superstars. But you know what? If you want to know are who I think might be returning to the WWE in this year's Royal Rumble match, I gotta say this. I think for the women's side, I anticipate the returns of Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Kiana James, and likely Trish Stratus and Lita. On the men's side, I expect Omos to make a limited return before heading back to Noah. And although I don't know how his recovery is going, I also hope to see AJ Styles back in this year's Royal Rumble match. Okay, so now for the surprise entrants who are not currently signed to the WWE but will appear in this year's Royal Rumble match. For the women, I predict Jordan Grace from TNA Wrestling, as her contract is expected to expire soon, and as well as Utami Hayashida and Bozilla, both from Marigold. For the men, I believe Joe Henry from TNA Wrestling, and this one is probably a long time coming. I predict that Abyss, representing TNA, will be in this year's Royal Rumble. As you may know, behind the scenes, Chris Parks, I believe his name is Chris Parks. He works as a producer in the WWE. He's the man known as Abyss. I think this will be done to finally acknowledge the Abyss character in the WWE. And also, I think my final surprise entry will be Marufuji from Pro Wrestling Noah. I have a feeling that we'll get somebody from Pro Wrestling Noah in this year's Royal Rumble match. Okay, so that's it for this week's, for today's round number one recording. Raw should be starting in about a couple hours, so I'll see you guys during the week. Thank you and goodbye.